Morning, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order for the Polk County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. All commissioners are present. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Next up is our public comment portion for items not on this agenda, limited to 3 minutes. If you want to speak to the board, this is your shot.
We're just visiting.
Okay,
We're new in the county, so we're getting it more.
thank you. Yeah.
Randy Strauss, 611 Southeast Rosewood Lane, Dallas, Oregon. I just wanted to come and say a thank you. I don't know who got it done or whatnot, but the meeting minutes and agendas were posted just looks like August 23rd for the local Public Safety Coordinating Council. Something I've been inquiring about for a while. Just it wasn't public record before online, and I don't know if that was you, Nicole, but thank you.
Yeah, that was me and Sam Hill.
You
We
were
were together.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Just inquiring on what's going on and I want to regards to public safety.
And you know those are public minutes you can attend. I mean, public
I
meetings.
do know that now, so yeah, yes, thank you. My other question, and I know I've reached out to Nicole and she wasn't, the correspondence I had with her last, on the 23rd, I guess it was, Nicole, I think, was if, Sheriff Garten would be, giving an update. According to my notes and records, and maybe I've missed, I think there's only been 2 this year in January and in April. As well as the district attorney's office. I'm just looking forward to an update from Sheriff Garten. Election is coming up here shortly, and although I don't know personally his running mate, I hear some wonderful things about him, and I'm excited to hear if Sheriff Garten has an update with the election coming up soon. So I don't know if there is a standard rule of how often he's supposed to update you guys
No,
for the public.
there isn't, and Nicole holds the calendar for, and trying to keep it, keep everybody
Sure.
coming to these meetings. And so
Sure.
she manages that and trying to get coordination with different department heads and electeds to give us updates. So
Sure.
she just tries to make certain that fill in the slots
Yes.
for those who haven't
And I
seen us for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah, and if the sheriff had something that was more specific, of course, he's able to come and make a presentation anytime.
anytime.
If he has something of relevance that he needs to update the board on.
I don't know if you can put a note out there, just encourage him to give an update. That would be great. Same with District Attorney Felton too.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mandy. Any other comments? Okay. All right, moving on. Looking for approval of the agenda.
Also move. Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed unanimously. Approval of minutes of September 3rd.
Also move. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Did I hear you? Did I miss you?
No, aye.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. That passed unanimously. And next up is a SEDCOR update. And Alex Praskvas, excuse me, is here with the big boss. Eric's here. Oh, yeah, I should, yeah. We were looking around, trying to figure who could that be? So we asked you clearly to come and give us an update.
Yep.
Following the invoice for dues.
Yep.
And felt that, when there's an invoice for dues.
Yep.
We probably should hear from you rather than just sticking that in consent agenda and catching up later, so that if we had questions.
Yep.
Or we should have a dialogue about dues and especially if there's increase in dues. So that's why you're here, even though I acknowledge you were here in April.
I was gonna acknowledge that, so thank you, yeah, we were, yes.
And there wasn't an increase in dues, was there?
I don't know. I'm
There
not,
was-
I said especially if.
Yeah, no.
And we've been going through, just for background.
Well, now that you
going through
mention
that
it-
with other entities.
Now that you mention it,
Yeah.
you're happy to increase our dues.
That wasn't, that wasn't a door opening.
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
You opened the window.
Yeah.
I heard it as a door permanently shut.
Well, thank you for having us in this morning. We'll just do kind of a, hopefully this will be a dialogue, but
Want me to drive?
yes, please.
Yeah.
But please, if you have questions, but we'll just kind of quickly go through some of the things we've been up to in the last several months and then, look forward to input, feedback. Go through our business retention expansion work, industrial lands and infrastructure. Been doing quite a bit on innovation and entrepreneurship for the region. Just kind of go over some of the events that we have coming up that you're all invited to. And then a couple business development tools we'd like to talk to you about, just get you folks thinking about it, maybe for some follow-up in the future. So the business retention, expansion and recruitment, we've been pretty busy this past year. These are good projects. A couple of them are kind of hot off the presses that we can now talk about. In particular, I wanted to be sure, I mean, we talk a lot about Agility Robotics because it's a cool company, but I think our recent conversations with them is that they're interested in the supply chain opportunities there. So I know they're already talking to businesses here in Dallas, as well as some of the machine shops in the rest of the region we've been introducing them to. So, but a couple of the ones there, one I mentioned Lineage, but now we can talk about it. This is Don Poncho. Reesers, a big project for us. It's keeping them in the area. Like a lot of businesses, they've been courted by other states and they do quite a bit of work in Idaho, and Idaho was a pretty strong, gave them a strong sell. They are landlocked, if you know where they're located now, and they're expanding into the former NORPAC facility in Salem. They're going to be taking over about 300,000 square feet in there and modernizing for the next 20 years of growth. So that's keeping them in the community too, which is really exciting for us.
And also, I would just add in, right, having food processors locally, I know you and I have talked about this quite a bit. We've talked about this quite a bit of lack of downstream buyers and processors, especially for things that we grow here. And so it's nice to, not that they're a direct buyer by any means, but it's good to have that continuity here in the region.
Yeah,
So
particularly in light of the Pacific Natural Foods announcing they're leaving Tualatin, which,
that's a
that's a
big deal.
I'm surprised people aren't making a bigger deal about it, but it's Campbell's now. And, it's.
They're keeping the name and the brand. They're just,
Yeah.
it's closing the facility.
Presumably this has been planned for a while and they've been very systematically switching their supplier networks to kind of national type of suppliers. So we don't know if there's an impact to farmers because we know at one point Pacific Natural Foods, when they were locally owned, did a lot of work with farmers and other suppliers and built up their own supply chain. They're kind of a great example to follow until Campbell's got involved and then, it just became another multinational company. The other one I'd like to talk about that as of last Tuesday was finalized is the hazelnut growers. You probably read about Wilco's closure of their Hazelnut Growers of Oregon project. And that was going to be creating about a 25% kick to the processing capacity for this region. When I say this region, I mean this state and this country, because this is where the hazelnuts come from. They mostly work with small farmers, 50 acres approximately. This is a company that now is being purchased by, actually the holding company is called the Hazelnut Acquisition Company, but it's George Packing, Northwest Hazelnut. And they'll be continuing to sell under the Hazelnut Growers of Oregon banner. Hopefully being able to hire most of the people back that were laid off. There's about 80 people laid off as of Labor Day. This is one that we were able to kind of get in early. They've got a lot of balls in the air with this project, but it's kind of exciting for us to see where this could go. And this for us is not just a strong retention, but it's also providing some capacity for future growth in the industry too.
As all those hazelnuts come online that have been planted the last, 5-7 years. So
Also just been talking a little bit about quite a bit about the PDX terminal. I've not seen it in person yet now that it's opened. Alex has.
totally worth spending the $4 if you're dropping somebody off at the airport to pay the parking and walk in.
But one of the things that we've really been trying to promote throughout this process, and we did get a chance to look at the work in progress, was to point out that the ceilings and the roof structure and the floors are local products being made here by innovative, traditional industry companies that are doing really cool things like Xena forest products. So that's something we will continue to be harping on and continuing to encourage people to get their picture taken of their feet as they're walking on the wood tiles in the airport. And there are some spots we get the carpet look too.
Just as a reminder, it's 75,000 square feet of oak tiles. That's all from Polk County. So it's a pretty neat thing. And kudos to the Port of Portland.
While you're on that subject,
Yeah.
I've heard about this ad nauseam now.
Yeah, for sure.
And so when will they actually have another sale of their product? I mean, is this gonna be
It's
for
for-
one and done or?
Excuse me, Xena?
Xena.
Oh, no, this is an actual product that they offer now.
Oh, no, we're very familiar with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
product. We've seen it, how it's made, all
For
that,
sure.
but this is the only sale I've ever heard of. So,
Oh, this is the sale that triggered them actually getting all the equipment. So this was the first domino. So they have all the equipment now. And so it's a product that's offered by them sort of for anybody to buy. Yeah.
so they are but they are currently marketing.
Yeah.
other-
So Ben, actually, we sent an email yesterday. He's hiring 3 positions right now, including business development sales. So this is a ramp up, but he needed the equipment and the port's contract allowed him to purchase all the equipment, bring this sort of new tile to manufacturing to the country. And now we'll be able to start scaling off of it. So, yeah. That's as far as as far as I know.
And I did attend, they did a kickoff in Portland over the summer, I think, late spring, early summer, where they invited a bunch of different architects, designers, kind of riding the wave of their attention they've been getting at the PDX facility to promote their product. They had, I think, 7 or 8 different species of wood that they're using to make the tiles, and they had them all really nicely displayed around the room and really got a lot of attention out of that. It was nice to see the excitement for our wood products, a wood product from the sort of traditional Portland sustainability crowd. I mean, there was a lot of those folks that were there that see this as a real opportunity for healthy forests. And so they are promoting it.
Yeah.
Are you aware of a permanent display in the terminal? I could not find one. Just saying, Polk County White Oak, Xena Forest.
Yeah, there's somewhere, I think maybe past, I didn't go through security, but I think there is my wife sent me a picture of Ben, description of Xena and all the things. So I think,
Sure, I missed it.
yeah, I don't know where it is.
Right on.
Yeah, find it
It's
next
I'm
time.
glad it's there though.
Yeah, find it next time.
Around industrial lands and infrastructure, I mean, we do a variety of serving on the different, committees for industrial lands, et cetera. But, one area that you'll see more activity of here in Polk County is on workforce housing. And, we started this work in Newburgh with a workforce housing it's not workforce housing consortium. The lines didn't sound right. And that consortium really just started through our business retention expansion work where we, ended up talking with ADEC and a couple other businesses there. And they had a commonality of an issue of we can't find housing to keep our workers in town or to find new workers to come in. Newburgh School District had to close several times, not because of snow in Newburgh, but snow in Portland, because so many of their folks are coming in from Portland. As a result of that work, we've been able to fund a loan program, working with the Missing Middle Housing Fund, but we're also working with the Council of Governments to kind of recreate these community meetings with local employers to talk about workforce housing, to identify what resources are out there to get people excited about innovations and different models. And we're currently working on the contract with the COG now to do that kind of outreach over the next 6 months or so. And we'll do at least 1, if not 2, roundtable sessions here in Polk County.
Would you mind including us on that invite?
Of course. Yeah. As I mentioned, coming into this, we've been spending quite a bit of time in activity around innovation, entrepreneurism. You've heard us talk about the Latino Microenterprise Program before. Our next round, we're applying for more funding from the state. They are giving limited amounts of funding to applications like ours that already had received funding from their Economic Equity Investment Program. We are going to be applying to extend our program to fund a Polk County cohort, and then probably another one in Salem, and possibly another one in Yamhill County as well. We've been getting on average about 30 people graduating from each of the programs. It's a 12-week program, culturally and linguistically appropriate for the entrepreneurs. And those events, when they get their certificates at the end, have been some of the most gratifying ones that I've been to. Just the people really seem to be appreciative. They're building networks and mentorship relationships, and it's really nice to see that activity. And we continue to facilitate the groups getting together, the graduates, because they're like, well, now what do we do once they get the program? So, and also the SBDC, Small Business Development Center, Chemeketa, is also doing advising on one-on-one basis once they graduate as well. We're in the process of contracting with Mike White, who you may know is our venture catalyst. He's been working with SEDCOR, the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network, for the last 3 or 4 years. We received funding from the state for a regional innovation hub, and that's really geared towards entrepreneurism and innovation. And for our plan, it was really a matter of how do we shore up some funding to have the venture catalyst position regularly here, advising scalable small manufacturers on how to get their products onto store shelves or into the supply chain of other businesses. Dreamy's Dairy is one of the ones that I know talked to him early on and has been working with him as they expand and grow. We're also got some resources in there to do more of the kind of coffee clubs and pub talks to get entrepreneurs together and to bring in speakers. We've been trying to do this stuff as we could in the past. Lorraine Connor, it's not so new, our year-old marketing and communications person, has really taken that on as she can in her job. But this allows us to actually have some funding to actually build some entrepreneurial ecosystem for the region. We're pretty excited to see where this goes. But then, of course, the asterisk is the funding runs out at the end of June, and we have no indication from the state. The Oregon Innovation Council wants to continue funding these things, but a lot of months between now and then. As part of our launch for this, we're going to be doing this work under our Launch Mid-Valley name, because that's really the last 5 or 6 years we've really tried to develop that as a regional entrepreneurial program. We held our first pitch competition, Pitch Willamette, a couple weeks back, that attracted over 50 people to watch 8 investors make a decision to fund 2 out of 7 businesses that made a 5-minute pitch. Very cool to see the variety of businesses. They weren't all from this region. A couple of them came down from Portland area. But it was a very exciting night and one I was really proud to see. It just really went well, and we're excited to kind of put that on again. We're not going to be the Bend Venture Conference anytime soon, but I think if we're able to make ties to local investors and get them to invest in businesses and opportunities in their backyard, that's a good thing for us in the region.
Anybody from Polk County represented there?
The company that won, or one of the 2 that won, is Ravino. Ravino is a couple guys that are working on refillable wine bottles. And so they're trying to actually do, you've probably heard of her. Yeah.
Other presentation.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I wasn't there, so sorry. But yeah, so Ravino was one of the, and I think that's a pretty broad footprint of support for businesses, across the region, so.
But it's not for lack of trying and getting the word out too. So, we hopefully we'll continue in that regard. I'll let Alex talk a little bit more about this, as I wasn't able to be there, but we got to play a role in the tour that the Small Business Administration Administrator Guzman came to town with, being a cabinet level person with her entourage of Secret Service and other folks. But we were given an opportunity because of our regional innovation cluster work with the SBA to host a a panel. We actually sort of redirected it to talk about ag tech and what we're doing with the RIC. So
Yeah.
you can talk about who gathered together.
Yeah, sure. So the Regional Innovation Cluster Program, there are 11 programs or 11 clusters in the US. And so we are working as a subcontractor through Ag Launch, which I've talked about before. Ag Launch has 3 actually of those 11 contracts. And so a colleague from Ag Launch actually came out from Memphis, and we did a roundtable discussion about agriculture innovation and sort of just a what's going on right now piece for farms. So Polk County was represented quite well at that roundtable. So Dylan Branch from Riddle Farms and Heller Rudenclaw from who farm. They live outside of Amity, but they farm in Polk County as well. Attended representing farmers. They're part of the National Farmer Network, and so they're actually farmers who are screening startups. And so this Ag Launch model, right, is kind of twisting things on its head a little bit, where you're having farmers pick startups that get invited into an accelerator program that Ag Launch runs. And so it's an very interesting model. And the administrator is familiar with it. She recognized Ag Launch and knew the things. But we also invited Andrew and Marissa Burley from West Coast Companies. Mike Veneer from OMEP was there as well. And it was hosted at Chemeketa's Ag Complex. So Holly Nelson and Tim Ray were there as well. Andrea Salinas is actually the host. Representative Salinas was sort of the host and the convener for this. They were on August recess, so she had invited the administrator to come out. And so she and the administrator we just had a nice conversation. It was about an hour long, but talking about some of the challenges right now facing Willamette Valley Ag in terms of profitability, what their supply chains look like, what's profitable for next year. But then also it was timely that Helly is actually on the phone with one of the founders that she's hosting a field trial for right now. And so it was 10 minutes beforehand, she'd been talking to a founder of a startup, trying to this is how we think about it, and this is the kind of data we need and whatnot. So it was a great event. It was mentioned at breakfast a couple weeks ago, but it's sort of one of the greater professional kind of highlights for me in recent memory. So I was very glad that our relationship with our Portland SBA office was such that we could maybe weasel our way into hosting that roundtable. So
that entourage did continue on here to tour Mac Metals after. We weren't
ahead of time
included in that. That's right.
Yeah, they started Mac Metals.
We weren't included in that, but
yeah. Mac Metals, it
went well.
Don Froylan for lunch, the creamery on Portland Road, and then just voted best string cheese in America, just won a national competition. And then, we had our roundtable. So,
yeah, and the SBA, we tried to work with them to target businesses that had used SBA programs, which is why we certainly recommended Don Farland, because we knew that they had actually even been an SBA or SBDC client for many years, for over time. But
similarly, the Burleys are heavy SBDC users historically, and so it's good to have them as well. So they supply processing, cleaning equipment, palletizers and stuff like that. So they're really confronting labor challenges through automation and technology. So, yeah.
And we did a couple other events. Recently we did our industry tours. We've got those back on at the, commission that's always invited to attend. We're hopefully going to be lining one up here in October. We're still trying to get it finalized, but we're hoping that the industry tour will be here. And we also did an event with George Fox University over in Dayton, artificial intelligence in the Valley. It was just a panel that George Fox worked together to put together. But a good excuse to just get some people that were interested in the topic around. And as a matter of fact, a lot of those similar folks showed up at the pitch Willamette afterwards too. So we know these kind of interested in tech people are out there. It's just trying to reach them and get them engaged in what we're doing. And then hopefully everybody's on our invite list, but just it's been for everyone. I know AOC is also busy this time of year with conferences and other things, but we've got our annual awards next week from tomorrow in Salem. We're doing a second round. It's a little bit smaller this year, but our marketplace with the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network for food manufacturers. It's also a pitch competition. So we encourage people to come and sample and buy locally made products and get to hear what these businesses, how they give a 5-minute presentation on why their product is so good. It's always an interesting opportunity. I mentioned our fall industry tour. We're doing October 6th, our industry insights luncheon on Measure 118, which will, I'm sure, bring some interesting discussion. And then we've already started to book our November industry insights on logistics, supply chain issues in the region, opportunities and then we'll have another one in December before the holidays.
The other event that's not mentioned here, because it's not necessarily for open event to come to, but is we're going to do our locally grown supply chain event again, where we did it last year, where we had processors and buyers do a tabling event, sort of a regional, it's almost a regional trade show of sorts, and invite farmers to come. And especially this year, contracts look rough for next year. And so not naive enough to think that we're going to greatly move the needle, but it seems like a good gesture, and to be able to talk about the buyers like it because it aggregates farmers and potential new contracts, and farmers like it because it aggregates buyers. So, and sometimes they don't know everyone. So we will, it's probably going to be first week of November, but you'll see more about that as we firm that up. That is if the buyers have contracts to give for next year. So it's really dependent on, it's building two sides of a marketplace, literally.
When is that being scheduled?
It's probably going to be November 7th, but I'm not entirely, it's sort of up in the air. Willamette Valley Ag Expo in Lynn County Fairgrounds is the 12th through the 14th. I didn't want to schedule on top of that, but I was targeting that date initially. So, yeah. Do you want to do the?
Yeah, just, and just a couple things while we were here. We've been working with Marion County now for several years. I think they're still the only county that has put into place this rural industrial property tax exemption. And we recently just kind of did a summary of the projects that we've done with that in Marion County, and over $40 million in investment, 100+ jobs. These are all basically an enterprise zone for unincorporated areas of Marion County. So it does, end up benefiting value-added agriculture opportunities, Hopmere cold storage. They were able to invest in some cold storage. We've done Pacific Lumber's facility, GK Machine. They're moving outside the city of Donald into ag land there. That's our most recent one that was approved. But, I know the Marion County Commission thinks this is, the best thing since sliced bread, and they're very proud of having that. And we'd love to see the rest of the region pick this up, because we know that these are that kind of opportunities that are available and are particularly in the ag sector, as businesses are looking to try to invest more in automation, potentially, as well as cold storage and other things to add value to what they're growing. And then the other one that we just wanted to mention is Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy Program, or CPACE. And this is once it's private financing, and that's the key to this. And it really, in a nutshell, extends the payback period for some projects that may be, because the nature of them, traditional bank would only normally give it maybe 7 to 10 years, and it can extend it up to 20 to 30. Which makes for a nicer payback for the investor. It's to encourage energy efficiency, renewable energy, seismic retrofitting in commercial buildings. We've been trying to promote this as an opportunity. We've had the businesses and come to us and say, when is this going to be available in our region? It started in Portland, I think in 2016, was when Oregon approved this as a tool that could be adopted. It's generally adopted by counties because there's a lien that's placed on a project, on a property. But, we see opportunities. We talked about the Don Pancho project. I mean, a business going into what is basically a shell with a dirt floor. The opportunity to be able to do the building envelope and some other things in there and have another tool available to a business or an investor that's trying to redo that kind of thing. And it's also good for multi-tenant housing. So I think it's something we'd love to have the opportunity to talk to you folks about and maybe do more of a formal presentation on it and bring in some experts that are more familiar with the program and what the impacts are, potential impacts and what the role would be of the county. But, I do think a couple of these things would be beneficial to Polk County to look at in the future.
That's it.
There we go.
Okay. Question? No?
No.
Quick question on the rural and industrial property tax exemption.
Mhm.
Is this essentially like the long-term rural enterprise zone concept, or is this totally county specific?
County specific.
It's
Okay.
it's county specific and it's generally it's 3 years, so it's not long-term.
Okay.
It's just like the enterprise
like an
zone in that
enterprise zone.
regard.
I
It's a
see.
3-year property tax for new building or machinery and equipment that's going to go in for production. And if you're outside an enterprise zone, you're eligible for it. I think it's still available inside a city limit if the city doesn't have an enterprise zone also. But it's, we've been working on several of these lately, and it does seem to be something that starts to make an awful lot of sense when you see, the opportunities, particularly in agriculture, to, do the value added. So it's a really good program.
It's $1 million spend. Is that right?
Yeah, $1 million.
$1 million
minimum
versus
project.
an enterprise zone,
good
which
point.
is much less.
But then after 3 years, it's on, those investments are on the property, tax rolls.
You said Marion County is the only county that's
Yep.
pursued this. Do you know why that is?
Well, I know why they were heavily promoted to do so. It was actually Willamette Valley Vineyards that when they were putting in the Turner facilities and doing some things down there. Their logic was, we wish there was an enterprise zone here because we're putting all this investment in and we're not going to get any payback for any of this 3 to 4 years out by the time we're done and have to build the market.
They also don't pay commercial property tax.
Well, there's that too. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Do they pay on the manufacturing side though?
they're paying for personal property
Yeah,
tax. They're
not the
paying-
commercial. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You're not paying the value of land as commercial.
Right.
Yeah. So from that perspective, it was, basically how can you help an, investor? How can you encourage investment that's coming into an area and then recognize that, hey, given that 3-year delay that an enterprise zone gives them does play a role in being able to, effectively pay back, once you start making money from your investment. So that's really the model that was used. And it's surprising that Marion County is the only one that has gone this way so far.
Interesting. Thanks.
I'd also mention as far as the CPACE, there's, I think, McKed, right, is.
Oh, yeah.
There's a handful of counties now, across Oregon that
Yeah,
have
I should have said
adopted
that.
the program. So it's not just us that, that we're talking about it. And it's not just Portland, right? So.
Yeah, it started in Portland and it was really geared towards seismic retrofitting and fixing up some old buildings there. And they were Prosper Portland, which was the Portland Development Commission, really was kind of, the lead in this, working with the Energy Trust. And but it's subsequently been adopted by several other places. Most recently Sherman County and Hood River County. So I think we're looking to see what kinds of Sherman County is going to be a good example for us, I think, because that's a very similar kind of, to our region as far as business mix and what they're trying to do there. I would also guess that might be specifically there geared towards wind power or renewable energy
They're trying to
projects.
get into solar now too.
Yeah. Because we've had people in the energy industry contact us, but we've also had like the waterfront development and the old Truett, facilities in the Cannery District in Salem. We've talked to the folks out at the former NORPAC in Staten as the industrial development group there bought it and basically are gutting that and, redoing all the systems in place there. So all those types of investments would be eligible for this type of financing.
Unfortunately, I don't know where Polk County has any industrial properties outside of city limits.
But it's ag. So they're looking for exemptions in ag and.
Investments.
Well, and also
Commercial.
I would say that it's, cities can adopt it individually or the county can adopt it. And so I think our contention is that if we're going to go down this path, it would probably make more sense for the counties to adopt it so that it's equal playing field. And so even for it's easy to see for Dallas, mill site redevelopment project. They could be, especially for something that needs a lot of retrofitting, something like that getting used.
And if the city of Dallas or the city of Salem did this, they would still need to work with the Polk County assessor. So, having the county look at it as a blanket opportunity for the communities within the county makes a lot of sense.
We're mostly just pitching the idea of coming back for a work session with actual experts. And of course, the assessor. And so, who I've mentioned this too. And so that we can talk, sort of have your questions answered, her questions answered, and then just see if it's something that I want to pursue. So
I'd be interested in a work session.
okay. Yeah, yeah,
Do a little homework too.
that's fine. Yeah, I'll follow up with all y'all and we'll get something scheduled. So.
And I should also mention that we do have a committee of our executive council working with a law firm called the Nonprofit Group out of Eugene on our bylaws. So we, just to beat you to the punch.
Don't whisper in my ear.
I know, it came up in April, so I just want to let you know that there is a committee working on it.
Thank you though for the effort. I have a couple of questions. So to the hazelnut project, you said that so this is a consortium of private farm operations, I'm guessing, that are buying up Oregon hazelnuts.
It's George Packing that ultimately is going to be buying it.
Okay, I'm not looking for names. I just,
Well, it's
almost a co-op.
got
but-
the enterprise zone now, so it's public.
Okay. And so we anticipate that they're going to be online, and those that had been hauling to them before are going to be able to continue to
Yes,
haul to them.
exactly.
Okay, good.
Correct.
This season,
Yes.
which is just weeks away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
couple weeks.
we just toured the plant, the new plant,
The new old
the
plan.
new old plant, which is beautiful. I mean, it's only, actually coincidentally, it was an enterprise zone project for us, probably 5 or 6 years ago. So it's a really new plant, and the Georges are, they look at this as just being such an opportunity. It just wasn't, it's probably not perfectly set up for their, and so this is a longer term thing for them. Get through the season now, get through harvest, get the, processing done. But then look at some improvements in the future, tweaking some of the equipment that's in there.
The workflow process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any sense of who the top 10 or top 25 employers are in Polk County?
Private employers or
Yeah, well, no, not government.
hospital or,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely have a sense,
Okay.
but I don't have the hit list probably on the top of my head. I mean,
Is that something though that you guys
I can absolutely put it.
get?
Yeah,
I think it would be a nice step for us to get an update on who are they in the private sector.
sure.
So we know
Yeah.
who's currently the top employers.
And those are the ones we do try to target proactively too, obviously.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Business
Right.
retention.
I just, as a board member of SEDCOR, I don't know that I've heard that or read it anywhere. Maybe it's
It's
been,
not something that we regularly publish or anything else, but happy to,
is there a problem publishing it, do you think?
I don't think there's a problem publishing. It's just not something we've typically done. I think we think we know who they are.
And
So
when you do see organizations do those lists, it's generally they do a survey and get the survey results back because the employment department will give us that information. They won't give specific information on, on a specific company. So that's
I
why.
just worry that we make assumptions about who they are. And then, before you know it, 5 years have passed and either they're not here. I think they all are, but,
Yeah.
or something substantially has changed with them and
yeah, sure.
we don't know who
Yeah.
they really are.
Yeah.
Thank you for mentioning Measure 118. I'm not sure how you tiptoe through that process as SEDCOR, but I'm glad you are. I was grateful to be in a presentation. I am, without any humility, saying that I am an endorser on the opposition team and publicly. But additionally, I'm curious about whether or not SEDCOR is working with any kind of group to talk about with employers or with businesses. Well, what's the alternatives to our current property tax system in Oregon? So I hear a lot of rhetoric from politicians about what they think it should be. I hear a lot of rhetoric from cities about abolishing measures 5 and 50, which I think is a disastrous mistake. Again, you find something new and you work it into the plan as you work into phase out, I think. But Is there a process going on for us to be talking with our business community about, again, I think property owners or residential property owners for the most part would say, I don't want you changing any, I don't want it capped. I don't want any more property taxes. I'm confident most of us think that way. But what's the business community willing to tolerate? And I get this Measure 118 thing makes it even harder, but what's happening there with Sedcor?
I mean, for us, specifically, we haven't had those kind of conversations other than kind of hearing things in the past about certainly the overall sales tax versus property tax, the balance of income tax rather versus sales tax. And, that comes up every few years as to, what we really need is a sales tax. And then everybody comes out of the woodwork to say we don't want a sales tax. I do know the city of Salem is starting some sort of program where they're going to be surveying folks and putting some work groups together on basically like, okay, you didn't like what we offered. What are your ideas for revenue? How do you citizens and businesses think you're going to pay? And how should we provide these services for you? And where's the money going to come from? I don't know how effective that will be, but certainly something we'll be keeping a close eye on to see what kinds of things come out of that as well. It's probably a good question for us to be talking to the Oregon Economic Development Association for too.
Yeah.
Their conference is coming up in October, their annual conference, and we usually look to them to kind of give us some direction as far as kind of bigger picture issues like taxes. The challenge that we see with 118, because when we first started talking about it, was $750 was the key per person in the household, and now last I heard it moved up to 1,600.
Yeah.
And I think it's not, I mean, it seems like there's a little bit of an echo chamber where people are like, well, of course, that's not going to pass. I'm like, I don't know. That's a pretty attractive option when you start doing some multiplication on that particularly. But the impacts to general fund issues is what really surprised me. And with the Oregon Business and Industry, I think we've got them coming up for our workshop in October. And they've done quite a bit of homework on this, and that was the aha moment I had when I first heard the presentation, was the impacts to other funding, programs that ironically would probably impact the folks that would be thinking they benefit the most.
Even some anti-poverty programs are working.
Exactly, yeah.
People won't be qualified for the benefits they are receiving.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a fair bit of connecting the dots that we need to do on that, and I don't know how easy that is to communicate to folks, really. I mean, it's you get a check in the mail versus maybe the prices will go up or maybe our other programs will, be hit. But I keep going back to something like Pacific Natural Foods, where you have Campbell's, which does own businesses in this region too. You have a bunch of accountants sitting in the Midwest someplace with spreadsheets, and they're saying, okay, how much does it cost to make X? We can do it here in Kansas City for this, or we can do it here in Oregon for this times 1.03 or whatever the costs are going to put, plus whatever the supply chain impacts are on it. So it's hard to start looking at these things in kind of our own little echo chamber of Oregon, because these decisions have ramifications around the country around investment in this state.
I'll go on record of being adamantly opposed against Measure 118 as well. But I'm hoping people understand and they take a look at a check for $1,600 is not going to get anybody out of poverty.
Yeah.
But the effect it has on all of our corporations, which is all of our jobs, our retirement trust funds and everything else, is going to be affected drastically and in the wrong direction.
Sure, I would support a letter if you choose to draft one, a letter to the editor or what have you.
This board opposing 118?
Sure,
Absolutely.
so, do a little bit of analysis from our perspective on what the impacts would be and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can get that from OBI.
I was gonna say, yeah, it would be,
Yeah,
they've got a pretty good.
And you heard about this thing, they're under the gun on this. I mean, this was something that was really a bit of a surprise, and they've been sort of on the defense, literally and figuratively since.
Well, a mountain of money has slid into the laps of the proponents.
Yeah.
And they're coming after it.
Yeah.
So it's a social experiment that they're fully invested in.
And California, investors from California are investing in utilizing us as the guinea pigs.
Petri dish.
It amazes me how our state allows that to happen.
And OBI seems to think that that's probably the most critical, message to be getting out there, folks, is to say that, hey, this is a social experiment being funded by out-of-state interests, and that seemed to, and their polling, that seemed to resonate the most with folks.
They'll bear none of the costs.
Yeah, right.
This is the danger with an initiative petition process like Oregon has. And I don't know that people fully understand that we're fairly unique in that regard. And so, but we can become targets as well, victims of our own needs.
Support to direct democracy, but there should be some guardrails, especially when there's out-of-state actors
Yeah.
initiating.
Thanks, team.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll look
Appreciate
into the question about the tax structure.
I guess we should probably decide if checks in the mail or at some point.
I probably propose a motion that we should pay him.
I reluctantly.
There's a lot of reluctance here, but I say aye, so that's,
Very much.
yeah,
Thank you.
by consensus.
Yeah.
So you want me to sign the payment voucher?
Yeah, might as well go ahead. Dribble some money out to them.
Thank you, Rick.
Really appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's really
Yeah,
fun.
thank you.
Get the updates.
All right, do we have non-listed items?
I do, sir, if I may. Chair, members of the board, this is more just informational for tomorrow's meeting, but I wanted to make the board aware. The county is currently in ownership of a fourplex here in Dallas on Henkel Street. We've had discussions with the board previously about potentially disposing of it, and I want to let you know that I believe we've found a buyer for it in the Housing Authority, and I will be bringing to the board tomorrow as an add-on. I apologize for not getting it on the agenda. The appropriate paperwork for the county to declare the property as surplus and to direct staff to complete the remainder of the transaction. That's all, mostly just information. I don't like dropping non-listed items on Wednesday, so I apologize for that.
Can we do some kind of a bonus deduction or?
Yeah, take it out of my bonus.
Thank you. Any other non-listed items? No?
Sir.
All right, hearing nothing. Any other business? Hearing nothing else, we are adjourned. Oh, we don't do